And we are live here on Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. My name is Tony Vicent. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP, which is a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard, and skincare alchemy in the Bardic College of Content Creation. Our hope and desire here at Plus One EXP is to help amazing designers find great players who love their games, and amazing players find great designers whose games they can love. We do that in a lot of different ways, but the most fun way is exactly what we're doing today. We're sitting down with a designer to play their game, or in this case, get just a little taste of a much larger MegaDungeon coming to us from Feral Indie Studios, the delightfully twisted mind of Charlie Furgeson-Avery, who I didn't get to see at PAX at all. That's how insane PAX was, is that Charlie and I, who used to usually get at least a little bit of a chance to hang out / get kicked out of a bar together, did not get a chance to get kicked out of a bar together this PAX. Keegan in the chat says, cool crew, wish I was invited. Sorry, Keegan, I would have never even considered inviting you, or accidentally done math wrong, invited you, then uninvited you at the last second. That would never happen. Because you would want to play with a great group like this. Charlie, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and tell us a little bit about Ave Nox. Literally translates hello bird, or hail Lord of the Night, I believe.
It's a funny story about that, but we can't talk about it this stream. Yeah, so hi, my name's Charles Furgeson-Avery, he, him. I am one half of Feral Indie Studio. And today I'm going to be running my MegaDungeon, well, our MegaDungeon, called Ave Nox. It is all about forgotten history and folly, 500 years buried in the dark of the earth.
Awesome. Sorry, my wife is frantically trying to text me right now. And let me text her back and vamp while the next person goes. That sounds great. I'm super excited to play regardless of my imminent distraction. Why don't we loop around and find out who's going to be joining us down in the dark? Hessen, why don't you go next?
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I am Hessen Young D, pronouns they, them. I run a little YouTube channel, and I'm glad to join you all at Hessen's County. And let's see, who's going to go next? Rowan, do you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. I can go next. That's perfect. Hey, everybody. I'm Rowan A., also known as Bottomless Sarcophagus Studio since recently. I am the guy. I'm the lead writer from the Book of Gaub. I've done Thawing Kingdom and will be doing Thawing Kingdom because a big remaster of that is on the way. And very soon, I think in about 3 days, I'll be releasing also a small expansion for Austin Ramsey's Beam Saber, if anybody is familiar, which is a Forged in the Dark game about mecha anime.
Love it. Super excited. Let's cut over to Ivy.
Hi, I'm Ivy. I use they, she pronouns. I'm just here to chill for the most part, but I also worked on the Book of Gob with the lovely Charlie and Mon above me.
Awesome. Love it.
Indeed. Yes, good point also, Ivy, for bringing that up. You may notice that sometimes I am referred to as Mon. This is perfectly normal.
Yeah.
Do not question this happening.
Yeah, I'm going to do it at one point during the stream.
You will do it. You've done it last stream. You will do it this stream. I am perfectly fine with it. Just so the viewers know who's being talked about.
Love it.
And Tony?
I'm here. It's me. We have a lot of great things going on at Plus One. The number one thing, if you wanted to support what we do, check out all the cool things that we have going on. Consider supporting us here on the channel. Would be to go over and check out RPG Zine Club. That's at rpgzine.club. It's a chance to get different indie RPGs sent to you every single month in small zine format. We've got story games. We have adventure games. You can get both of them. You can get either of them. But if you want to help support emerging and diverse creative voices from across the globe, head over to rpgzine.club. Go check that out because it's the number one way you can help create more sustainability and more humane pathways to publication and play, and it's a great way to support our channel also too. You can get it digitally or physically. It's been a great couple of months getting things started. We are working out the final few kinks between all the different pieces of technology to make everything work super smoothly, and we've got some really great things coming in 2024 with it. But we're about to send out copies in the middle of this month of Kyle Tam's Prima Donna solo Wretched and Alone game, and Michael Van Vliet Signal Station's Trophy Standalone Incursion, Die Grave Robber Die. Go check it out over at rpgzine.club. Also working on a Mouse Raider Mega Dungeon and a deconstructed Down We Go dungeon and a lot of other really cool stuff. Check out all of our stuff at +1EXP.
I need to ask more about that Mouse Raider Mega Dungeon after this. That sounds sick.
I mean, we certainly can talk about it because I'm very excited about it. Matt's putting all that together, and so it's been super fun to work with them. But you didn't come here to hear about any of those mega dungeons. You came here to hear about Ave Nox and to watch us play through it. Before we dive into actual play, we always use a couple tools here to make sure everybody stays comfortable and make sure our game stays on track. Those are lines, veils, the X card, and the open door policy. Lines are things that may happen in the wider world of our game, but they are off limits during play. They're things that don't come up or don't happen while we are playing. We have a strong line against sexual violence and sexual coercion in play here on stream. Does anybody else have any other lines that they want to add? Cool. Veils. We always address veils as they come, but they're things that we may only address within a certain fashion. That might mean just mentioning them and moving forward. It might be only approaching them in a certain context. It might be treating them delicately when they come up and making sure everybody's comfortable by checking in as we play. Do we have any veils that we want to name for the stream? Cool. Awesome. Then we have the X card, which is the ability to type or say X, pause the game, identify whatever the issue is. You don't have to explain why you don't like it. You can just say, I don't like that. Can we do something else? We'll pull that out and we'll move forward in a different direction. We might update our lines and veils at that point, though. The last one is just an open door policy, which is the ability to get up, move around, text your spouse if you need to in the middle of a stream, because we are real people with real lives happening outside of just the small little window that you see of us, and we need to take care of those things. So if somebody needs to step away from the screen for a moment, that's totally normal, totally fine. We're going to keep on going, or we may all decide to take a break together. We are going to take care of ourselves. We hope you take care of yourself also too. With that said, I'm going to hand things over to Charlie to take us into Ave Nox.
Alrighty. Well,
Hail Bird.
Hail Bird. It means Hail Night, but there's also a... Anyway. All right. So...
now I get it.
Yep.
Continue.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm on board now.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, with that,
I mean, Hail. Also, the only reason I even looked at that translation is because I live in Philly right now, so I feel like Ave Nox is the Latin equivalent of Go Birds.
Anyway, so first off, it's been a while since I've refereed, but that being said, I'm very much looking forward to this. So, we'll start off with setting the scene. The four of you, which we will get to in a moment, are gathered in a place along the coast called the Ghostlands. It is a sea of rolling hills, sand, punctuated by scrub, trees, and the occasional boulder. It is currently in a bit of an upheaval. There are forces at play attempting to enter in and exploit the Ghostlands, the locals and natives that have made it very much their business of keeping that at bay, only letting in a select few people. In this case, you are four of those, whether you have conned your way into here, whether you have been invited in, or you are a detachment from the local academy that has been given express permission by the locals to enter into the ghost fields. So, with that in mind, why don't we go around and introduce our characters?
I've got Hito the Spelunker, they, them pronouns. Hito has been in the Ghostlands for a long time, just kind of crawled in here, probably not in the normal way that a lot of people came in, on my belly through a small fissure, and then just kind of walked for a little while and found my way there. So I am a Spelunker. I have night vision, which is really important to know about my character.
Nice.
I like to crawl around in places, and I'm really good at climbing and moving around. And don't worry about that knife. That's all I got.
Yes, the
Yeah,
begrudging
you just-
spelunker.
Yeah.
You just love crawling, just a little crawling around.
I'll go next. I'm playing Svettra, he, him pronouns. He's a kind of a slimy fellow with slicked back blonde hair and a well-dressed outfit. He doesn't look like he's from around here. Well, he's an old local of this place, more accurately, and he's just coming back home.
The exile, I believe it is.
He also carries a
Yeah.
strange pendant with some sort of insignia on it that nobody's really gotten a good glimpse at.
Interesting.
Okay.
Let's go on to either Rowan or Hessen.
Okay, well, Hessen, if you like, you can go ahead.
Sure. Yeah, so my character is Frank. And he is a historian with documentation that is a bit sketchy, but got in anyway. And claims to know a lot about sort of like the history and the archaeology and the different cultures in this area, but might not always be 100% accurate.
Okay, wonderful. My name is Oliver the Loathsome. I've been dumped here by a corpse cart who presumed me dead, which, to be fair, since the last adventure that I've been on here was accurate up till recently. Oliver is a grave robber. I have a pickaxe with me and a bunch of rope. And the way you were to imagine this man beast is a hulking mass of muscle covered by a raggedy cloak and a face obscured by, I think, a metallic sort of mask behind which horrors lurk that only very few people may imagine.
Fair enough. Wow, what a crew.
Totally normal adventuring party.
Totally
normal
it's not
adventuring
wrong.
party.
Anyway, the group of you are walking through the Ghostlands, guided by one of the local hunters to the site. The most interesting development in the local area is that a massive underground ruin, unlike anything discovered in the area before, has been discovered. The locals are very hush-hush about it. They are attempting their best to keep the academy at bay, the local city-states that surround the ghost fields at bay, and through, like I said, either deception or permission. The four of you have been put together to explore these ruins. You are led along a small, unmarked path and eventually arrive at what appears to be a small crawl in between some sandstone boulders. It's been marked off with tiny flags. There are a group of locals and hunters standing around protecting this site. You arrive at the crawl. You have a moment to gather yourselves or ask questions of the locals before your descent.
I'm absolutely going to be asking some questions to the locals. Do any of them recognize me?
Let's find out. Oh yeah. Yes.
Now, is this a bad thing?
Yeah. The second you walk in, two of the hunters sort of like jab each other and give you a bit of a stink eye. One of them looks at you with like intentful, we'll say, anger, and the other one stares at you with caution. The one with anger keeps their hand on their bow, and you see them sort of almost casually flick the string with their two fingers.
I will make sure that Oliva is nearby and approach the two of them.
Yes.
Okay. I think Oliver, as he is at your side, as he walks, I think his boots make a sort of squelching sound, which I think we're in quite a dry area, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So that leaves only the mind to wonder where it's coming from. And yeah, the rest, I think it's the whole bulk of his body, although obscured, just makes a kind of orchestra of squelching, rattling, and clinking noises.
Disgusting.
And I'll approach the two of them and ask if they can. I'm going to just like not flinch at them noticing me, or try not to flinch at them noticing me, and just kind of straightforwardly be like, any interesting developments with this recently? And I will approach this with all the etiquette of a local.
The one intentionally sort of like pretends like they have found something else to do. The less angry one answers your questions of which I apologize. What was it again?
The character's name or the
the questions that you had.
I was basically just asking, like, are there any interesting developments? What stories have you heard about the this was recent, so I know there hasn't been many expeditions down there, but have you heard anything? Is there anything we should be aware of as we go down there? Anything we should prepare for?
The one word that they use right off the bat is big.
Big.
It's big down there. They mentioned kind of the history of how it was discovered. There was like a hunter was foraging and just happened to like spot it in between the rocks. They and a couple of their buddies made a descent, and they discovered that they had found a very, very large ruin. That being said, everyone is pretty hush-hush about the details, more so with the intent that they don't want the information to get out.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And hearing this, does this location ring a bell? Any sort of like ancient legends or anything of the area? Do I have any?
Oh yes, you are the local. There have been like a couple of stories of like this area is supposedly cursed. No one has ever necessarily like felt that curse. There's been a kind of like a lot of superstitious blaming on, the casual tragedies of life out in the ghost fields. But this particular area has, to the locals, a bad vibe, or at least, but they cannot place why or where that tradition of thinking came from.
Oh, sure. Could I ask an additional question to this hunter? I think as soon as our exile here is done asking his questions, Oliver will ask, "Are there any humans down there?"
The one hunter thinks about it for a second. None that we've found. There are a couple of vermils down there, so watch out.
Okay.
Which I would say Svetra, right? Or
Svetra. Yeah, Svetra.
Svetra.
Like the
The small animal that makes Kopi
Yeah.
Luwak coffee when people pick the coffee.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
yeah,
Like a
Svetra.
marmot or a ferret or other small delightful creature.
I'm going to also approach Hito and ask if they'd like to take the lead down the crawlway.
Well, that's the plan, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why you're here.
I mean, these guys are talking a big game about how deep this place goes, but that's how it always starts. I mean, I've probably seen deeper.
But
No. I'll pass you my lantern.
While they're preparing to go into the tunnel, the locals had mentioned that this area has like some sort of superstitious reason why people don't want to go in it. Can I use one of my special abilities?
You may.
Yeah, I would like to potentially understand this given piece of history.
All right. Low or high?
Let's go high.
All right.
Go ahead and this is a really fun one that works very similar. Like I love these backgrounds because I had to do very little any kind of rewriting on them to make them fit perfectly. And down we go. Tell people a little about what the role you're doing is.
All right. So, as the charlatan historian, you have an approximate knowledge of most things. Yes. And so one of their abilities is that you may ask a question about a certain piece of history, of lore, whatever it may be. And you have a 50-50 chance of getting the answer or getting something wrong without any way of being able to distinguish between the two.
Right.
So,
I love that. That's
now,
very good.
if you are you asking this in a mythological context or a historical context? Oh.
Sorry, I forgot I turned my mic off.
Okay.
I would say my kid just came in the background. I would say in like a sort of folklore historical aspect.
All right. In that case, your understanding of it is that there was, I'm trying to think about this in like a folklore thing. Yes. The sort of bad superstition about this place comes from a local creation myth about a giant worm. The worm devoured everything across the land that used to be green and fertile until eventually it was slain by baking in the sun. The sun grew to a devastating strength to kill the worm. The worm's body decomposed, rotted away, and eventually formed the rolling hills that surround the area. But its will still exists, and it is still very hungry.
Neat.
Which now makes me very concerned that I'm about to go into a hole. That might be where it came from. I very quickly write that down in my notebook before very nervously starting to approach the hole.
Fair enough. We'll say Hito takes the lead, or at least sets the lead ropes, and one by one, you descend down the crawl. It is...
Down we go.
Oh, what?
There we go.
It happened.
roll credits. Roll credits.
Just, you keep close to each other. The line is thankfully strong enough, and the descent is at enough of an angle that you aren't too worried about a sheer vertical drop. You end up making a crawl for about 30 minutes. Oliver, you definitely hit a couple of tight patches with your large sort of gross body.
I think there are a few times when some part of Oliver clunks against the side of the rocks, which makes you imagine that under his cloak he's wearing some patchwork of metallics, something that might have once been described as an armor, but there's since just kind of become part of the mass. And I think sometimes it's not a clunk, it's more of a rip, but it doesn't seem to phase this creation.
Anyway, as the group of you make your way down,
it's pretty tight down here.
It's just bodies and hands scraping against the sandstone, some more than others. Some
I just literally twist my body around to look back at you and say, like, I don't get it.
He's like a serpent.
Anyway,
I like how Charlie was like, there's going to be mild body horror, and we were like, or not mild.
At about the 20-minute mark, you realize that the walls become far too smooth for it to be a natural formation, almost as if they were intentionally chiseled out. They're still rough, but as you descend even deeper down, they become smooth to the point that this is clearly artificial. You have entered into some kind of shaft. Before long, at finally 30 minutes, you're unsure of how many feet deep. I would say, Hato, you would estimate it at probably 150 to 200 feet below. At this point, the ears begin to pop. You spill out into a broken part of this shaft or chute and step out into actually a flat, solid ground punctuated with some rubble. Does anybody have any light?
I have I was given a lantern that I have hung on one of the hooks on my harness.
Fair enough. Now, I can't remember for Down We Go. Do lanterns have a specific time associated
They
with them?
do. They basically last per space you explore. So a lantern would last 6 spaces we explore. If we spend extended time there, you might also, as a GM rule, that it burns down a little bit more. But I could let you know, like, if this is just a bog standard lantern, that would be six spaces, basically.
Can do.
Also easily trackable on a standard size die. What a coincidence.
Oh yeah, and I use a little clock system, but all right. So the lantern lights up, and you see the first part of this ruin. You see before you a network of smooth and empty alcoves resembling rooms. Their facades are painted with decaying garnishes and pigments. There are signs of animal activity. This entire area is crafted from stone. The ceiling goes up maybe 10 feet. It's, in modern terms, looks almost like a series of large cubicles, but painted.
Any notable exits?
No notable exits, at least not from here. This area extends out into, at least as far as the lantern goes, probably 60 feet to the north, and you were unsure of how far to the east, as they are blocked by these stone cubicles.
And are they? These are. You said alcoves, so these are cubicles set into the walls.
Set into the walls.
And are they uniform in size, or are they varied in size?
All uniform in size. You do notice that there are some paintings and frescoes on the walls if you're interested at exploring.
I'd like to take a look at those for sure.
Sure thing.
Same here.
And then I think the other question is, are they I know we're in a worked area. Are the angles of the cubicles sharp angles, or are they worn angles?
Right, these ones would be worn.
And does it look like worn by time and use, or that they were softly carved?
Well, you see that the tops are definitely worn with time as sandstone cracks down, breaks down over years. But you do notice that the bottoms are clearly worn by animal activity. You see scratches, you see hair, you see, especially in the back of the alcoves, piles of some sort of leavings.
Are there any bones?
Here you only notice small animal bones. Small animal bones, shells and of various like insectile creatures. And I will say that you hear a noise skittering around in the dark. Who was it that was looking at the facades?
The two of us.
Yeah.
The historian and the exile.
Fair enough. Looking at it, you see images of crudely painted scenes of commerce. It is done in a very old style, I would say, as the charlatan historian. Even you can sort of pick that up.
Mm-hmm.
But they are all scenes of commerce. You see one alcove. There is images of bread, images of a oven. In another alcove, you see images of wheat. Goods, so on and so forth down the line. You even notice that there are signs of scattered, what appear to be like benches, tables, and bits of cart.
So a marketplace. Interesting.
Yes.
While the gang is investigating that, I'd like to start collecting some of the animal bones and shells.
Fair enough.
Just adding to my wares.
Would you like to start searching the alcoves in a sort of like orderly fashion?
Yes, why not?
Sure.
I'd like to just, if I have a bag or something, I'd like to just start putting the little bones and shells in there.
I will say, as you begin to do this, you actually spot a couple of coins here and there. However,
Ooh.
as you are searching that, you are interrupted by the sound of that skittering. You hear a hissing and sort of like grunting noise. A noise familiar to the exile, I will say, as you see a small dog-sized vermin scurrying into the dark towards your location.
What feels familiar about this?
It is local to the area. One could say endemic. It is a vermol, a ferocious vermin the size of a hound. It's got a face like mole, but bodies like weasels.
Making sure my crossbow is loaded.
Fair enough. I guess we start some combat. So in down we go. I believe it's you roll.
We roll a
each-
d6 for the party. Yeah.
I have alertness though, so I win initiative.
It's
Ooh.
only you can choose to activate.
Oh, I
that,
can
'cause
choose to activate it.
You're going to get to
No,
access
I won't use it then.
activate it a certain number of times per day, and then it will reset at the beginning of the next day.
So it's just once for me, so I'm not going to use it right now.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you didn't.
I didn't know that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good to know.
Fair enough.
Okay, so if we are all rolling that initiative, I've rolled it's on a d6, right? So
Correct.
I've rolled a 1, which I presume means I go after the vermin.
It's for the party, so that means we all go after the
Oh,
party.
okay, cool.
I was
Fantastic.
too busy.
Wow.
I was too busy drawing. Frank was too busy drawing the frescoes.
Yeah.
in his
My
notebook.
bad. My bad,
you see,
gang.
like all this line work makes it like ah.
All of a sudden, I heard the twang of a bow behind me, and I'm like, "Wait, what?"
All right. The one reveals itself to be the one vermin is quickly followed by two others,
Oh,
and
no.
they are fast. You spot them about 60 feet away, and they close that distance within moments. So we'll say, yeah, one goes for Oliver, one goes for Frank, and one goes for Savetra. The spelunker is hanging out by the still gathering the ropes.
You know what? That's tough but fair, I think.
Of course.
You're in the middle of the circle of light, so that makes
right.
sense.
That's true. That's
Yes.
true.
So we'll start with Oliver. To avoid damage, you need to roll above a 15 by rolling a d20 and adding your sneak, I believe it is.
Okay. Well, that didn't happen. So I think I take a hit.
Yes, you take one hit. The vermal lunges at your leg and bites into it.
Okay. So yeah, I think this vermal is just kind of attached to Oliver's leg as he's trying to shake it off.
Hey.
And this thing is just bitten into it and hanging on to it.
It kind of does. It sort of latches on like a shrew or a weasel, where it's more about like grabbing onto it and then just sort of shaking without letting go.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that's one hit. We'll move on to Savetra. Go ahead and roll.
Try to beat
sneak.
15.
Got to beat a 15.
I also don't beat it.
Oh, okay. That one scurries up, and this one attempts to bite at your belly. It manages to get through the flesh. Thankfully, a bit of your clothing sort of protects yourself from it. Unless
Thankfully,
you're-
that stuff was expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah. A couple of things to know also for y'all is if you have armor, if you have a light armor, you can use it to reroll one defense roll during a crawl. If you have medium, 2. If you have heavy, 3. Just FYI.
Indeed.
Good to know.
And finally, Frank, the last vermal, lunges for you.
I'm good.
Good? All right.
Yes, I'm good.
Really?
You watch the two other people get hit and manage to, the synapses fire just in time to, and you dodge out of the way as the thing lunges for you and skitters across the ground.
I think I tripped as I was turning around.
Perfect.
I tripped over my own feet, and the verbal went like
Yes.
over my shoulder or something.
Mm. The most powerful defense. The enemy can't predict you if you can't predict yourself.
Exactly.
All right. Well, with that, who would like to go first? The counterattack begins.
Savetra's going to
Okay.
pull a small dagger out of his sleeve and try to slash at the vermal.
All right. Roll bloodthirsty, and you have to beat a 15.
Got it.
Got it. All right. You plunge the dagger directly into its head. It sort of jolts for a second and then finally goes dead. Unfortunately, it is still like latched in, but at least there's not too much force in its jaw anymore. All right, who wants to go next?
I'm going to try to wrap my rope around one of them so I can catch it and make it a pet.
Fair enough. I guess as the designer, you would know what to roll for that.
I mean, it depends on whether you feel like this is an attack. I usually, if people are trying to do weird rope shit, I usually have them roll sneaky. Unless they're explicitly trying to do damage with that.
We'll say lassoing is sneaky.
Yeah. If I was like, I want to sink the hook on the end of my rope into this thing, then it would be bloodthirsty. So, I rolled a 16.
Okay.
So yeah, I succeed at lassoing one of these things
Yes.
with my rope.
Yes, you managed to get the bite of the knot up against its neck. You have it in place. It's trying to scratch at your hands, but you have it contained.
Okay. How about I take an attack against one of these things? So that's bloodthirsty is what you add to that roll.
Yes.
Okay. Cool. So
And you should have 2 abilities selected in case you were wondering.
oh, should I have 2 abilities? I only have
two
the
abilities 'cause
one.
You have 2 levels in bloodthirsty.
Oh, okay. I thought it was different.
No, it's
okay,
one
then
per
I'll-
level you have in the roll.
Okay.
So, just FYI.
Well, in that case, let me just add this one to it.
It's a great one.
A great one. So I think Oliver is just going to, as this thing is latched onto his leg, I think he's just going to raise his pickaxe with the head downwards and not even swing it, but just stomp it downwards. Charlie, theoretically, let's say that I roll a 20. What happens then?
You're stomping down on it?
Yeah, with the pickaxe, just vertically.
All right. Well, I remember one time I was working at this diner when I was a kid, and I saw a mouse ran out from under
Oh,
the,
no.
Oh no.
from under one of the grills, and I remember the cook Titus. He just sort of just stepped on it, saw it, stepped on it, and just went flat,
God.
and then he kicked it
That
back
is-
under the
He
grill.
kicked it.
But
He kicked it back
but
under the grill.
yeah, so it's kind of like that. It just goes flat.
He kicked it back under the fucking grill.
Yeah, that's a real story, by the way.
Oh my god. Soup's up, boys.
Indeed, yeah.
Goodness.
So you just step directly on its head, and its head goes flat. It twitches. Well, you slam it down on its head. It twitches
Indeed.
once, and then just dead. No movement.
Indeed. And I believe, if I'm right, that if I kill this thing, I can activate my ability from Bloodthirsty, which is called Cleave, which is that when I kill a creature, I can attack again.
At the one that Tony has in the rope, or
Sorry,
That's it. Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah,
I, as a player, think it's hilarious if I just captured this thing and then you kill it. I think that's
Yeah,
great.
that's
I
so
just
funny.
I want to be very
I think
clear.
if you're okay with that, if you think that's cool, then yeah, I think what happens is you capture this thing, and then Oliver, one leg completely covered in blood, both his own and not his own, shambles out of the fucking darkness and goes, "We'd better kill these things," and he's gonna try and step on the second one.
Yes, our one-man army.
And I will make another roll. And I'm looking for no, okay, that's a 5 in total. So that's not gonna cut it. And so then my cleave is used up, right?
I think you have one use is used up.
Okay. So I'm correct in saying that because I have level 2 in Bloodthirsty, I have 2 abilities and I have 2 uses of
Correct. They
each.
grow exponentially. And so-
Okay,
yeah.
fantastic. Can I then use also one use of my rage to do an additional attack but draw a free attack from an enemy?
Yeah, you have found one of the fun little exploits, and down we go. That is the only way you can use more abilities per turn than one, and that is specifically
Exactly.
a thing only the bloodthirsty can do.
Indeed. So I'll make this second attack. Well, third one. Ooh, that's an 18 in total.
Okay, you hit it for a hit. How do you kill this thing? I imagine that
Well, I
Kato
just
sort of
told
like sees you
didn't
try to
I?
stomp on it, pulls it back and up, and so it's like scratching at you.
I'm gonna Chef Titus it.
Jesus. Okay.
I just or was it not Titus, the man that you mentioned squashing the
Titus.
mouse? Yes,
I
exactly.
think chef would be a stretch for.
Yeah.
We'll say line cook Titus.
Yeah.
Much more powerful, to be fair.
Yes.
Yeah, more dangerous.
I'm gonna do a line cook Titus, and just also step on this thing, kill it.
Fair enough. All right, it does get an attack against you, so go ahead and roll sneak.
Sneak. Okay, this is gonna be fucking-tastic. What is this? That's a well-rounded 6.
Okay. Its death throws against you. It manages to scratch and nip your leg, and you manage to scrape off and stomp it with your other foot.
Do I just, out of sheer absent-mindedness, like step on its open mouth and just skewer my foot
right through the boot.
That's good.
on all of its dentures?
Yes.
Oh, terrible.
I
I've killed them.
The jawbone comes with your foot as you lift it off.
Yeah. You can feel one of the tooth like stuck in like the bottom.
I have a new shoe.
I think Frank was starting to draw his dirk out from like out of his jacket, and then just very slowly puts it back, not trying to attract any attention in case something happens here.
Yeah. Sylvestra's also very quickly sort of wiping off the blood off his knife and pocketing it.
Fair enough.
I shake the dead body. Dead body that's still hanging from the rope around like a little puppet, and then I let it. Then when it drops off, I kick it over into the darkness.
Okay, just like line cook Titus.
Just like line cook
Titus,
Titus.
Back
The fact that their name
grill.
was Titus is one of the best details about the entire thing.
Yeah.
Yes. I would like to collect the other 2 ones that are still here that are dead and put them in my special remains box. Because as the grave robber, of course, I have an extra inventory of 10 items specifically for remains. So I'll use up 2 slots of that to
Oh my goodness.
to put in some dead vermols.
I love that. I love extra inventory that can only be used for one specific type of item.
Bag of
very
holding,
fun.
but just dead bodies.
Yes.
It's for very specific items and very specific players.
Yes. There's well, can't get into it now. But anyway, I'll say that with the vermils dead, you continue and fulfill your search of the alcoves, and you end up finding, all in all, a cache of 35 silver coins. They are very old. Yes, as the historian, you take note of their age and also the face on them. You would have to use your ability to find out what it may or may not be.
Sure, why not?
Okay. Roll high or roll low?
Let's go with low this time.
All right. Looking at the faces, you place it at a warlord named Roshan the Despoiler. They were somebody who sort of sacked the local area and this Genghis Khan style figure, but it was roughly 500 years ago.
Okay. I suppose we'll just... Do we split this money up, or do we entrust it to a...
I'll hold on to it, and I'll divvy it out at the end.
Very well.
The honorable one.
Remember that in case somebody dies.
Yes. I will say in your search of the alcoves, you discover 2 possible paths forward. To the north, the hall opens up, into a wide ceilinged room, ceiling so high that even the lantern can't quite hit it. It is peppered with pillars that are columns, some of which are collapsed. However, to the south, against the wall of this, as you're calling it, a marketplace, you see that there is a large mural, mosaic onto the wall. Some of the tiles are falling off. You notice that there are signs of what appears to be graffiti and defacement. But as it is so tall, they can't touch. It only goes up about maybe 6 feet. The mosaic is, let's see. Oh, beatific images of a sun-headed figure overseeing a city.
Shall we check out the wide ceilinged room first? Get a feeling for our surroundings.
So we've got huge high ceiling, big room, and we've got large mosaic room with tumbling tiles coming off. Yeah, I'm both of those sound great to me. If you feel like high ceiling rooms, they're a great way to go. Let's do that. What are the walls like in the high ceiling room?
The walls in the high ceiling room, there's clearly signs of age. As most of this is made of sandstone and some harder, this area would be mostly sandstone. You do notice that there is some kind of, as a spelunker, you would say some dangerous wear and tear. But for the most part, the floor appears to be stable. There are some larger ceiling falls that have sort of peppered around. Lots of dust. But for the most part, it's a solid stone room of very clean construction.
But yeah, we get the ceiling, even with all the damage, we still get the sense of this is a carved out space.
Yes. Everything here has to have been artificially carved.
And the stone as it crumbles, I'm sure there's some sand around, but is the stone as it's coming off, is it coming off in big chunks and staying intact, or is it dust?
Is it spalling? Yeah.
There are a couple of big chunks, but for the most part, it's just sort of dust.
And you said we can't quite see the ceiling in here?
Yeah, I'd say if you really point the lantern up and by the way, let me check off the entry marker. Pointing it up at the ceiling, let's see if I wrote this down. Yes, I did. Aha, good on me. The ceiling goes up it must be at least 70 to 80 feet.
Okay.
For what reason, you're not entirely sure, but the pillars rise up to 70 to 80 feet.
Okay. And how many pillars are there in the room?
There are, according to the map, the most you can see right now is 8. 2 rows, so you see 4 and 4. However,
they are uniform.
Yes.
Okay.
You spot one of them has broken and fallen down. The ceiling seems to remain stable despite that. However, stepping into this room and pointing the lantern to the east, you see that the room continues to extend, possibly 50 to 60 feet, and you see more of these pillars. You also see some construction in the center of this room that rises up to the ceiling as well.
Okay. And the rocks that were falling in this room, or the dust that we kind of had going on, it doesn't look like there are any, for lack of a better word, impact craters of larger rocks that have fallen. We're not in danger of being crushed by anything, as far as we can tell.
As far as you can tell, everything seems stable. Even the very large rocks have a covering of dust on them. Signs that there must have been movement a long time ago, but for now things have stayed stable.
Right, I see. Well, then I suppose we might as well go and investigate this larger construction that's in the middle of the room, I think.
And when you say it's a construction, what tells us it's a construction? What do we see?
What you see is, the best way to describe it would be a tower made of stone and rusted metal. I will also mention that if you stepping into this large room, you see the tower to the east. and a large gateway to the west.
Oh, okay.
Are they? And you said one is positioned in kind of the center of the room. The gateway to the west, is it centered also too, like on that wall?
Yes, on that wall.
Mm.
And do both
Okay.
of those same things seem reasonably lined up with the pillars?
Yes.
Mhm.
And is the stone on the tower the same type of stone from here, or is it a different type of stone?
You notice that some of it is a different type of stone. Some of it has been constructed out of like cut slab or brick. The construction is clean. The construction is uniform, and the construction seems stable.
I want to know I want to ask the historian if he can take a look at the tower and see if there's anything he recognizes about it. Or
Okie dokie.
But of course.
All right, high or low?
Of course, I will take a look at it. Let's see. I believe it is high.
it's very tall. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. From the distance, because it is about, we'll say 20, 30 feet away in the dark, you peg it as some sort of mechanical construction. You notice a series of, curiously enough, clay pipes leading in and out of this thing. You see what appears to be a large rusted gear. You see that the center, the tower has entrances on all four sides. And spotting in, you catch glimpses that the center floor is apparently made out of metal and broken like tile.
Okay.
The center floor
of the this elevator tower.
Oh, okay.
Right. Okay. So does it look like this tower? Does it look like a contraption that, as a whole, would be able to move or turn, or does it more accurately look like a shaft for something else that moves?
I'd say you'd have to step into the tower to find that. From the distance and outside, it's uncertain.
Why? Well,
I'm actually going to step inside.
I think we should step inside. That sounds like a fantastic idea.
All right, you
I'll
pace
stand
half the
next
length.
to the door.
Yeah.
Fair
I'll go in first.
Okay, you pace the length of this large pillared hall, which will mark off one of the lantern uses, and you enter into this tower. A great tower surrounded by, you see broken pieces of like what are carts and coffers. Inside there is rusted ornate metal gates that have been knocked down. The space is filled with pipes, machinery, and sure enough, an iron platform that is clearly meant to descend.
Is that so? Okay. Well, if it's a descending platform, maybe our spelunker has an idea of what might go on there.
Yeah, it goes down.
Brilliant.
That's a ceiling. You can't do up there, so
Yeah,
it has to go
it's
down.
off limits. But
Brilliant
again,
deduction.
people always think these things go down an impressive distance, but I've seen deeper.
I had a quick question. Would it seem that the sort of internal mechanics of the structure, does that seem to line up with like the age of everything else around it, or is this like a newer addition?
Everything here seems to be relatively the same age. Everything, like the metal is rusted. The pipes are, the clay pipes have like cracks in them, but everything here seems to be of the same sort of style and make. It is curious that something this ancient would have
an elevator,
pipes and mechanisms.
Right.
You do notice that if one were to attempt it, you could probably crawl through the crawl spaces, the spaces between the actual platform and the walls of the tower to descend if you would like.
I see. Okay. Well, and you say you. We, our party is quite bodily diverse in the sense that we have the human eel there, and then we have Oliver, who is maybe not so much the human eel as the human pickup truck.
I will say, if you can go down, you could go to the east, or you could go to the west.
Oh, this is in the center of the large white ceilinged room.
Yeah, the large pillar room.
Right. Okay. You said something about coffers. Did I mishear that?
Yes, broken stone coffers. They're, as a local, you kind of recognize the make and model. They're clearly sort of indicative of the style of the area, but just so much older. Like,
can I just like poke around in them, see if there's anything interesting?
Sure. I'd say digging around through the elevator tower, you spot that there are clearly, like, much like back in the alcoves, bits of commerce. You see like small stone tools, anything that might be used for baking, some things used for tooling, most of it all broken. You find signs of a couple broken carts. They're, indicative of like the shattered like wheel parts. And they're all just sort of like scattered around this elevator.
Okay.
Fine, I'll go down and check it out.
All right. Like I said,
And
you
while
could go
you're at it,
down,
I'm
you could
gonna
go
pick
left,
up
or you could go right. Like,
And while you're at it, I'm going to pick up one of those broken stone tools.
Yeah.
fair enough. I'll say you pick up the top half of what can only be described as a very thick spatula.
That's exactly how I like my spatulas. I'm gonna literally just crawl underneath, like down the side underneath this thing. I am super not concerned about the ancient horrible mechanisms above, broken mechanisms above. I'm concerned about how operational does this stuff under this platform look.
All right, so just tucking your head underneath the platform. First off, you are greeted by a shaft that descends deep into the dark.
I've seen deeper.
Fair enough, yeah. I would say with your lantern, you're able to spot potentially 2 levels beneath this one. The level beneath this one is probably a full 80 feet down, and you get the hint of a 3rd level, another 80 feet after that. However, the shaft continues to descend despite that.
Does anybody have another lantern?
Yeah, 2 lanterns. That makes it brighter. Like,
I don't have another lantern, but I have plenty of rope. I think
I have some rope also.
We could theoretically rappel all the way down there.
Oh, but to answer your question about the mechanisms, despite them appearing rusty and old, it does appear to be functional. Although it, even looking up top, you notice that there are some controls in the form of levers. However, you're not sure how it's powered, as you don't you notice some pulley systems, you notice a track line, but the track line descends into the wall, as do many of the pulleys. You're unsure of how these mechanisms operate.
That's beyond me. That's fine. They look in decent repair, though. So no one's got another lantern, is what I'm hearing.
I don't think so.
No,
No.
not me.
I have something I can start a fire with, but I can't. I don't have a lantern.
Oh, great.
I have
what I
do have?
I dropped this lantern down to see how far down this
wait,
thing is.
wait, I have something.
It's too late. I said the thing.
Okay, well,
as you let it go, I think Oliver will just go, no, the lantern.
Sylvestra's pulling out a little hand mirror.
Okay. Now, as this happens, I want to double check something. Does anybody else have a form of light?
No.
That was my one lantern.
We have flint and steel was literally enough for my character to be like, that I've had to deal with worse than that. That's great.
Can
I think we can solve this conundrum.
Oh yeah, I mean, Good.
We have a flint and steel. How dry exactly are these like dead vermals looking?
They're still quite wet and full of blood. Yes. Like,
Right. Okay.
But there's all
Well,
the pre-dead vermal remains from the other room.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah. But
and
to answer your question about watching the lantern fall,
Yeah.
We could have put it on a rope.
You watch it descend. I would say as a spelunker, you're pretty good at like gauging distances. So you watch it fall 80 feet. It lights up the level below. You watch it fall another 80 feet. At this point, just a pinprick. It lights up another level below that. And you finally, distantly, hear it splash and crash. The sound of water and the sound of shattering. At a bottom, another 80 feet beneath that. You are looking at a shaft 240 feet deep.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, y'all, it's about 240 feet deep. You want to know something?
Tell us.
This is in the
Tell
dark, by the
us
way.
something.
That's pretty far down. I'm not gonna lie.
Have you seen deeper?
Oh yeah, I've seen deeper. I just want to let. I didn't want to I didn't want to give you a false sense of confidence.
Yeah. I get you.
Okay.
Just gonna
Just
cross off
eyeballs in the
lantern.
dark right now.
Okay. Well,
So that's just like internally screaming at you.
Since I can see in the dark for 10 minutes, I'm going to, since I have night vision, I am going to, I mean, there's a ton of broken things around here. There's levers, there's thick spatulas. We've already established this. We're gonna fashion a very basic torch and use the flint and steel to light it. It feels like all the things we need for the most part are available.
That's fair. There's plenty of like bone dry wood and splinters that you could get something started and fashion some rudimentary torches. So
Actually, I have a question. How do my ghosts work?
how do ghosts work?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have happy ghosts. Oh, I have happy ghosts.
Yeah, when you
I have bad ghosts.
My reputation's good with them, is what you're saying.
Yeah, so basically when we meet ghosts, you can do happy things and other people can do angry things.
Good to know.
Yes.
Good to know.
Because I look like a corpse, they will try to possess my body.
Because you are already half a ghost.
Yes.
They feel like my flesh is owed to them.
Anyway, so with the torch crafted, you may travel to the east or west of this great hall. Or you could just
Go back to the mosaic room.
Oh, by the way, Charlie, good thing to know, torches only last 3 rooms.
Oh, I am aware.
Just want to make sure.
If you were to activate this mechanism, how would it work?
It appears to be just a simple lever system. There is one that is clearly for up and down, and another one that you could probably guess is for how fast.
One of the lever arms is actually currently the torch, so I replaced it with
The spatula.
Broken spatula.
With Line Cook Titus's spatula.
That spatula's so thick.
Yeah. Would you like to test the mechanism?
I think if Oliver is at all let close to these levers, I think what he will try to do, or at least what he'll say, is I think we should recuperate the oil from the lantern, and he will try to set the mechanism to send us all the way down.
All right. You pull the mechanism. You hear a thunk, but there's no movement. Yeah, up, down, no movement.
Give me a second, and I'm gonna go fully bodily underneath this thing, just hanging upside down on this platform.
Fair enough. Hanging upside down, looking at the mechanisms underneath.
Torch in my mouth.
Yeah, torch. As Oliver plays with the mechanism, you.
I'm just taking one lever and going clunk, 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 clunk. It's not working.
And that's pretty much it. You're not noticing anything mechanically wrong with it. It's almost as if the, shall we say, power for this elevator is not there.
Do I see, like, I'm reasonably mechanically inclined. By which I mean I know how to pick a lock. Do I see a spot where a power source would go? Or do I get a sense of, like, does this thing have an obvious source of mechanical power, or does this look vaguely magically powered?
Does it have a human-shaped hole with a big spike in the middle?
It's me. It's the hole was made for me. You're unable to. The mechanisms are a little bit beyond you, but the one thing that you do notice that seems to be the crux of it all is the pipes. The pipes converge at the mechanisms and the track as part of this elevator. Following the pipes, you notice that they go the length of the elevator up into the ceiling. Looking even more, you actually spot the pipes lining the ceiling, curving around the pillars, and small, what appear to be, spots where sconces made of glass are set into the ceilings.
Excellent,
Okay.
excellent.
Mm.
By the way, Dazzlecat, thanks for the raid. Glad to have you with us. We were playing Ave Nox, a MegaDungeon by Charlie Furgeson-Avery, and down we go. Little household school system. Glad to have you here with us. So you said the sconces are glass sconces that are not lit.
Okay.
And so they're all like, there's little pipes that are kind of running alongside them. Where do the pipes end up?
The pipes end up, they go the length of this elevator, and they also go to both the left and the right. The more you look, the more you spot these pipes weaving in and out of the ceiling, the walls.
I see.
Almost endemic to the place.
So, do we want to just try and light these sconces then? Put a
The
little.
ones all the way up in the ceiling.
If there's any way we can reach, can I climb up there? Kind of using
I'd say there's
the
plenty
unevenness of the pipes of.
I think we should see where these pipes go.
Before we break something.
Yes.
Yes, that is true.
I'm very excited to watch giant dump truck man climb.
It is tempting.
Yes.
I'll say, well, I'll offer you this just so you don't have to climb. You notice one of the pipes that connects to
I
the
will
elevator.
climb if I want to, Charlie.
Just if you want to. But
I'm going to poke around while he's doing
I
that.
am a kid in a cursed McDonald's play place. I will climb, so help me God.
Fair enough. I will say you do notice some of these sconces actually pepper the outside of the elevator. If you would like to attempt to light one, it appears as a small ceramic pot made out of clear, cloudy glass. A pipe and some kind of mechanism attached to it. There is a spot where you could light it if you so wish. A small little, looks like a fuse cap.
Well, why not? I put in whatever torch-like implement I have in my hand right now, and I'll do my best to light it.
All right. You do watch as, just for a moment, the lantern lights up. You smell something akin to vapor, and you do hear noise from the elevator, but it's only for a moment. The sconce immediately goes out, and you're hit with this smell of what you can only describe as burnt ozone.
Ozone, you say?
Burnt ozone and rotten eggs.
Ooh. So something like sulfur, maybe?
Or natural gas. Well, natural gas technically has sulfur, has this thing added to it, but just
Look, it's fantasy natural gas.
Yes,
Like it
yes.
doesn't-
Yes.
And
It's
stinky.
extra safe natural gas.
Yes,
We've
comes with a stink
discovered-
on it.
We have discovered the true horrors of the world. Liquid natural gas.
We must bury this place.
We must bury this place so that no one will ever find it.
Was the sconce that was lit was down on our level, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you said there's a lot of them all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And then one that was just tried to be lit immediately went back out again.
Yeah, if we light other ones rather than saying I light one and describing it repeatedly, as we attempt to light other ones, do we see a similar reaction, or are there any differences that we note?
What you
between
notice
lighting
is
attempts?
it's a similar reaction with diminishing returns. If we'll just say we're using our own modern understanding of natural gas, it appears there was just like a little bit still residual trapped in these pipes. But as you go and burn it one by one, less and less gas.
Oh, I see. So maybe what we're looking at here is not a mechanism to... Maybe the sconces aren't a mechanism to activate the elevator. Maybe it's kind of the reverse. Maybe something coming up from below both powers the elevator and would light the sconces. But we are not actually at the source of that thing.
That seems reasonable to assume, I feel like.
Maybe.
It's fucking Charlie.
Let's-
fucking nodding along,
Let's
and
poke
then
around
as soon
these,
as
Yeah, could be.
oh well,
I'll never
that
tell.
sounds very plausible.
Yes.
Don't ask me. I'm a historian, not a scientist.
I will say
Okay.
though, as you are lighting these, at the time it takes, you do notice a sound to the east. Pointing your lantern in that direction, you spot what appear
Oh, good,
to
we've got a
be...
lantern back.
Which torches?
Oh,
Which
fuck.
torches?
GM said it's
Scratch
true
that.
now.
You only hear this.
Mhm.
You hear the sound of whispers and gentle weeping in a language that, as the exile, you are somewhat familiar with. It sounds off, though, and as the historian, you place it as old. But it is a gentle weeping. Like an old dialect. Whatever.
You know what? No, because for the type of historian they are, that's perfect. That was
Yes.
the perfect description, and that's why I loved it.
Yeah, it's a archaic form. It's like, that's old words. Like,
There's extra vowels in there. They put
Yeah.
some mustard on that
ooh,
linguistic.
yeah.
Ooh.
But that is coming from the east in the dark.
Well. Okay.
Huh. Does anybody want to go back to the room with the mosaic in it? That would be a lot less creepy.
I think that sounds like a pretty good idea. Let's do that.
All right.
And you said
I will,
there's just, I love her, like, there's someone's crying. Let's leave.
I will say the
I'm picking up some bad vibes down here.
all right. I will say by the time you reach the mosaic, the torch is on its way to be burnt out. But do make it at least for, it's 2 rooms technically. I will say you have enough light to at least inspect this room. So light catches a wall of glittering glass tiles. Covering the wall, stretching dozens of paces wide, is a mosaic of beatific images of a sun-headed figure overseeing a city. As I said before, sorry. Is there anything else you would like to do? You see this...
How tall is the room?
The length... This room, not as big as the giant hall. You put it at about 50 feet. Like the market area then sort of comes into this like sort of big alcove specifically for this mural.
Okay. And do we see any obvious entrance or exits to this room?
No, it appears to just be like for this. You notice there are some broken benches, some sitting like basically like sitting columns sort of like scattered across the floor. More of like a communal area, although it is in incredible disrepair, and the mosaic itself, everything from the floor up to about 6 to 7 feet has been defaced or scratched off in some way.
Oh, boo.
Hmm.
So the damage that's been done with these missing pieces, some of that's time, but some of that's vandalism.
Yeah, I would say that by just through that question or inspecting closer, you spot there are clearly there's an anger in these scratches. You see images of a sun with its eyes X'd out. I would say anybody who is inspecting the language, perhaps the exile or the historian, could pick up more if they wish.
Yeah, go for it.
No, you go ahead.
I'll poke around at the symbol. Now, my question. So I have a what's it called? In my background, I start with a symbol of my inauspicious heritage. So I've got a strange little pendant. Does this symbol look like the one on my pendant? In any way?
Yeah. You notice the pendant has, actually I have it written down here, what that pendant would look like, which also, for the record, Tony, excellent addition. That starting item
Thanks.
was totally totally Tony's idea. If I could find where I put that image. There it is. It is a picture of a sun blossoming from the center of a flower. You do notice that this image appears maybe once or twice in this graffiti, but for the most part, the majority of it are, and you just sort of barely pick it up through the archaic tongue, words tyrant, the words death, the words like insults, curses, all these things. That symbol occasionally popping up, but always scratched out too.
Okay, that was my question. It appears in the graffiti, or it appears in the original mosaic that has been graffitied over?
It appears both. There are some graffitis of it, but they are intentionally like somebody else went and X'd them out. And any symbols of that are within at least reaching distance have also been scratched out.
I'm going to shake my head in disapproval at these hooligans.
Frank meanwhile is going to be taking a look more at like the actual this big sun figure, and I'm wondering if this is sort of lining up with that original folklore that I had heard about the worm being killed by the sun and all that stuff. I'm wondering if this is that figure.
There is not a single image of a worm to be seen. There are lots of images of a sun, however, including this sort of like godly figure with a like sun head and an impassive face.
Okay, well,
the tiles that are they just normal? Do they look like normal earthen tiles, or are they?
Yeah, it's a colored glass. Like
glass.
It's sort of like there's no real like fancy pigments. Like you don't have really any blues. You don't have like too many striking colors. But one of those things like work with what you got. Like in ye old times.
A lot of warm, easy to access color. I'm still gonna look for a couple of bigger fragments of that glass and just see if I can. I'm gonna see if I can find any pieces to slot back into this thing. Like if there's any.
I'd say spending a little bit of time. By this point, the torch is almost at its last legs.
That's fine. You know why? I have night vision.
Yeah, I'm aware.
You sure do. You sure do.
You find like maybe some tiles that might fit into it, but for the most part, this is a task beyond your scope and expertise. I mean, many of the tiles have even been like ground to dust at this point.
Okay.
But you do pick up a couple of the larger ones for your inventory.
So there's no real way. So you mentioned that this is sort of like just like a larger alcove, kind of like the smaller ones we saw earlier. So there's only one way in and out of this space.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, that was unfortunate.
There is an entryway to the west in the Great Hall if you'd like to go there instead of towards the Whispers.
I mean, one of the Whispers were crying also too. How bad could it be?
The one to the west was the one you mentioned with a gateway. That does sound interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is true.
Fair enough.
Can we take
I-
another
I-
torch before this one burns out?
Yeah, you find some like broken carts.
Oh my god, Charlie's like, I don't want to just abandon
Thank you.
Go Dark with
Yeah.
Tony just repeatedly saying I have night vision.
There are. I'll put it this way: we're not for the fact that like this is the first level where like there's plenty of like scrap and stuff to be used. There are later areas where, if you're without light,
Yeah,
sorry.
we could literally go get some dry dead animal bodies and burn them.
yeah, the
If we-
vermals are still quite wet at the moment.
They're still very wet.
Well, but there was the pre-vermal, the remnants from when we got down here.
Yeah,
that were in the
there's
house.
okay, yeah, fair. There's bits of.
I
burn.
think these are just bones and shells.
Well, I mean, if there's been vermals living down here for a while, undoubtedly there's vermal poo somewhere that we
Yeah.
could burn if we're necessary.
That is true.
That's fair.
I create a swinging vermal poo brazier that we can use to.
I brought a lantern
Carry a stone
down here
bowl.
specifically so we wouldn't have to deal with this problem.
Fair enough. Anyway, using the torch, you make your way to the gate. The gate opens up into a second, much smaller room, almost like an atrium, 20 feet by, 30 feet wide by 15 feet deep. At the end of this, to the west, is another gate. This one circular, and let me pull up the writing for it. A large circular stone gate past this entryway, carved with an image of folks fleeing a great disaster from the sky, and a sun-headed deity halting the disaster.
Ooh.
This one is also covered in graffiti and damage. This absolutely covering it. And there is particular offense given to the sun-headed deity. You see where a majority of the strikes and graffiti fall are on the body of this sun-headed god, demigod, whatever it is.
Hmm. Does this gate look openable?
It's made out of stone, and there appears to be no hands or locks. If there's some way to open it, it is not in this
Okay.
room.
Well, that's not much of an issue. Hold on. And I think Oliver is gonna take out from underneath his cloak something that he was carrying on his back, and he's gonna say, "I have a friend up in the surface who's called Deskius. He trades in all sorts of spelunking materials, including this nitroglycerin." And I take out my breach charge,
Yep.
and
Oh,
I
boy.
would like to wire this. Do you? I can remove 9 cubic feet of stone. Would that be enough to blast a way through this gate?
I absolutely would. That absolutely
Okay,
would.
fantastic.
This is the
And
speed
hopefully then
run.
bring half of it down, half of the cave down on top of.
This is the speed run option. The bird is right behind this wall.
I would like to start wiring my blasting charge to this gate, please.
All right. You pretty much just sort of stick it at the. I'll say you either put it up against some stone or just stick it directly against. With a light, lighting it with the torch, you have 1 minute to step away if you so wish.
I do. I will.
Fair enough.
Good.
I will say, I think it's best if we now all step away for a moment.
Yes. You all step out of the room, and sure, 1 minute later, a moment of silence, followed by a flash of light and an ear-splitting explosion. You feel the ground, the walls, and the ceiling above you rumble. There is a tremendous groaning sound from above. You notice bits of rock begin to tumble down from the ceiling. Dust is released from every surface, going as far back as your torch goes. But the construction remains stable. And peering into the room with the torch where you've just been, you do notice that there has been a hole blasted through this gate.
I've opened the door.
Thank you.
What?
More like you've kicked in the door.
I knew we paid you for something.
I'm gonna go look among the rubble of the gate to see if I can spot. To see, first of all, I want to see if anyone's been killed by that explosion.
As you step in, you see, well, no bodies as far as you can tell. As a matter of fact, you step into.
Shame.
Oh, go ahead.
Shame.
Oh, Jesus. Actually, this is really fucking funny. What's coming up? You step into another room. This one much larger than the previous one. The ceiling goes up perhaps 30 feet. It goes back, I believe. It's 30 feet square, so just this with this rounded ceiling.
Sure.
And you see another gate made out of stone. This one larger than the previous one.
Is there anything in this room?
Say it again.
Is there anything in this room?
You do notice that there's what appears to be an entryway to the north. This one smaller, just sort of big enough for a single figure to fit through. This gate is, I kid you not, twice as large, and has an image of the Sun King, this sun deity. There is no damage to this one, and you do notice that the floor is scattered with what appears to be broken tile. As you look up and see that the explosion has knocked down a ceiling mosaic, showing people fleeing towards this sun-headed deity. In the case of the gate, though, you see them sort of in this rising pose. They are holding a scepter. They are holding their hand out as if guiding.
I will now take out my second blast charge.
Wait, really?
No, that was a joke.
I was ready for my kid to be like, "Do you got another one?" But you got there first. It's a big gate.
It's a big gate. There is a doorway to the north, though.
Okay.
Well, hold on. It's a big gate.
Mm-hmm.
There's an image on the gate.
Mm-hmm.
Scepter with a hand held out.
Yes.
Gate implies that there is a way for us to just tell this isn't another piece of art on the wall. What is it about this that tells us it's a gate? Do we see hinges? Is there a giant keyhole? Is it split down the middle? How do we know it's a gate?
Oh, so like the previous room, it is a large, rolling circular one. So you do notice that there is kind of a vacancy in between the walls, as if the big rolling piece sort of fits into kind of like a rolling vault block.
Gotcha. And how big is it?
This one measures 20 feet wide by 20 feet tall.
Okay, that's pretty big.
Yeah, it's pretty big. I go over because we didn't try. I just give that. I give the big rolling rock. I give it a push just to give it a test.
Sturdy.
No movement.
No movement.
And is it designed? Is there something preventing it from rolling, or is it literally just the weight of this thing that is keeping it from?
I will say you notice that pipes lead to this one along with the other one. Admittedly, a lot of the pipes in the other place near that gate have been shattered, but there are pipes that lead to this as well.
Okay. Are there sconces?
There are sconces in here as well.
Okay.
So theoretically, this is a powered lock, and there's no power on, or this is a powered door.
Okay.
This door is not necessarily locked so much as it is stuck.
Mm-hmm.
That's an important distinction.
I see.
Because it means just being like, Charlie, I use the lock. It can automatically unlock the door. Is it going to work? You said there is space.
Yeah, about I'd say probably about a 1 to 2 inch vacancy.
I should have played the townie
between
last.
this and
The 1 to 2 inch vacancy, 20 feet. How thick is this?
So if we're going from like the wall thickness is about 1 foot, vacancy 2 to 3 inches, and you're unsure of how deep this gate is.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If it's any indication of the last one, the previous one was a whole 3 feet deep.
3 feet. See, that's quite a lot. And this one is twice as big. So it stands to reason it's about a man deep.
In order to support all that weight, yeah. I'm going north.
Fair enough.
I will follow north then.
Fair enough. Let me get into. So for the record, I did not expect anyone to get into this area yet, but this will actually make things very interesting.
We're on our way to speed running it, y'all.
Not quite that. You enter into a room with enormous shelves covered in dust. They stretch to the ceiling 20 feet high. The shelves are filled with all manner of personal effects and artifacts. In the corner of the room rests an enormous pile of cloth, clothing, and trinkets.
Okay. So by personal artifacts, you mean like these are things that people would normally be like carrying on their person?
Yes, you notice there's it's all, I would say if you rummage around through them, you can probably get a better idea of what it is.
Sure, I'll do that.
All right.
That was classic GM trap right there. I don't know what's in that, but it's bad.
You do, as you sort of like dig through the pile, vermin do scatter out in all directions. Many of it is moldering with age. But it at first appears to just be most of it is clothing. Some of it are small, curious knickknacks. The one running theme you notice is that all of them have images or symbology, either related to belief, folklore, or some form of deity that has now long been forgotten.
Other deities, like the random assortment of deities, or a specific deity?
Random assortment. I would say, if the exile were to look through, you would notice them as local deities.
I was going to poke through those.
Yeah, albeit many archaic, many you are completely and utterly unsure of, and some that still exist in a very similar form today.
But most importantly, no suns, or at least nothing that seems to match the sort of sun figure we've been seeing around on the walls.
No, nothing that could be directly related. There are some images of something that could be related to a solar deity, but absolutely nothing that is specifically this sun-headed man.
So people were abandoning their faith to get swept up into the arms of whoever or whatever this thing is.
Could be. Want to roll that d6?
I love how every time Charlie says maybe, they've got a new cup to drink out of. Just.
But there is also the matter of the shelves that are clearly full of what one could describe as treasure, if you so wish to search through them.
That's so. Well, don't mind if I do.
I want to find another lamp.
I just say I'm gonna loudly claim. I guess maybe we can look for a lamp since no one brought a second one.
Yeah, I will say this one's down to 1 charge. So, I would say that there is probably enough like there is enough like cloth and various other. You could probably find like something that you could burn in here, or at least get a little burn pile going.
Yeah, so we could make more torches, but not necessarily. There's not necessarily a lamp in here.
No.
Oh dear.
Well, actually, let me.
That one person who worshipped that lamp god.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no lamps in here.
Dread.
No Zoroastrians in here.
No, sadly. I will say, as you dig through the artifacts, what at first seemed like a gleeful pile of treasure turns out to be much more historical and heavy in nature. You find totems. You find what are clearly ceremonial staffs. You find a helm, warlike, covered in coins with signs of fealty printed on each one. There are figurine sets. There are oracle bones, a coin box, a massive chest full of gold. Each one with a different face on each coin. In addition to that, you find robes. There's what is clearly a funerary painting, a scroll written in a language that none of you are familiar with, and a sundial showing many images of a pantheon as of now lost to time.
Okay.
I'm going to put that helm on for sure.
You beat me to it.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that.
So it is a bronze helm etched with delicate filigree of a hawk biting a coyote on the neck. The coif is made out of, there's also a coif in it, made out of silver coins, each etched with a symbol of fealty.
Sweet.
I see. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And now you have a hard hat.
Now you have a helm.
There's a lot of rocks falling down here, so I just need to get an idea.
Yes, that's true.
Yes. Ivy, you had something to say?
Quick question. Do you mind if we take a 5-minute bio break here?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, it's been an hour and 40 minutes, so
I love that. We're going to take a short 5-minute break. We're going to be back in just one moment to keep on playing Ave Nox. You could call it Bird Night. You could call it Hail Birds. You could also call it Hail Lord of the Night. We will be back in just 1 second to keep on playing in this amazing Mega Dungeon. And we are back here exploring the depths. Well, not so much depths. I mean, it's deep. I've seen deeper. The first level of the Ave Nox MegaDungeon, system agnostic, live right now over on Kickstarter. Already funded, but chugging along. Very, very excited, as always, to have Charlie here and to get to play a great game with some of these great people who I've had a chance to play with before, but also some of whom I get to play with for the first time, and not Keegan. That's the other thing. And so,
poor Keegan.
Sorry, Keegan.
Whatever happened to that guy?
Whatever happened to Keeg? Yeah. So I miscounted multiple times and asked Keegan to join because I thought we were a spot short, but we were actually fine, and then that put us a spot over. So I was like, Keegan, you don't have to do this after all. Right as we were getting ready to go live.
He took a wrong turn in Albuquerque.
That's right. And so let's head back into the dungeon.
Sure thing. All right. So where we left off, let's see. Right. You had just come into it would be rude to call it a storage room, but a room filled with treasures.
But this seems like a room at which people intentionally divested themselves of things, correct?
Mm-hmm. That's at least what you picked up.
Let's put ourselves in our cubby, and then we'll just toss our clothes in a corner. So people came into this room well-appointed and wealthy and left nude and poor.
Yeah.
It would appear so. Or at least there was some fashion of either intentional or forced divestment.
Before we forget, I'm gonna grab that like little chest or box of coins that you had mentioned before we went on break.
Oh, it's a massive chest.
Oh,
Filled.
never mind. I thought
It is a
was like
massive
just like a little.
I will read it. It's a massive chest filled to the brim with all manner of historic coins depicting ancient deities and the rulers of the ghost fields.
I'm pocketing some of that for sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll say you get like a
Stuff
handful.
as much as we can into our pockets.
Yeah. Yeah, I like it. Let's take some coins.
Yeah. I'll say, just for the sake of this, let's say it's let's see, what is that? There's about 250 coins in this thing.
So we get some. But it wasn't. So the note really is though, like these are items of wealth or status that have been left behind over. Like there are not practical items that we're finding here, other than clothing, of which that has been thrown in kind of a pile in the corner.
Yes, and many of them they are either forms of status, they are forms of worship, they are forms of ritual. None of them are, we'll just say none of them are magic as far as you can tell.
Right.
But they are, status, worship, so on.
Cool. And are there like staves in the room?
Yes. There is I would say that the exile and the historian would recognize it as a ceremonial weather staff.
Awesome.
Wood bound with silver twine and lacquer. Multicolored thread loops at different heights as if to measure something.
That's amazing. I'm gonna break that in half and
Jesus fuck.
tie some of the clothes around it so we can make more torches.
All right, I'll say you get two torches from that. Yep,
absolutely.
you get
Oliver is absolutely on board with this.
Okay. Yep, you get 2 torches out of that. Just make sure the locals
just a fancy looking stick.
I mean, if we die down here, none of it matters. The ultimate move in practicality. I turn around gingerly holding it, say, "Look how amazing this is," and then crack it over my knee.
Yeah, Savetra winces.
I was gonna say like, but all right. I have added that you have 2 torches. Where would you like to go?
We're only lighting one of them right now. I want to clarify.
Yes.
Yes. But think how much light you'd have with 3. You could hold 2 with one hand, 1 with the other. And like,
this was the only way in and out of this room.
Yes.
We gotta go the other direction, to the east.
Mm-hmm. Towards the whispering.
Towards the whale.
Actually,
or whatever it was.
As you are sorting through this room and defiling certain artifacts,
like you do.
You do hear the telltale sign of steps in the room before you. The sound of stone dragging on stone. Lethargically. There is something or someone in the room you just came from.
The room with the big gate, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you said that this was...
Sorry,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, Frank's going to duck behind that big giant pile of clothing real quick.
Fair enough.
I turn to Oliva and I hand you one of the torches and I draw my knife out and then I dive into the pile of clothing also.
Nice. Does this stone dragging on stone sound like it's the gate moving?
No, it sounds like it sounds more akin to like a tool scraping against the ground.
Sure thing. Okay. In that case, I think Oliver is going to kind of walk towards the room that we just came from. And I think he's just going to say, "Do you have a lamp?" Hello.
At that point, you hear a low moaning sound. Words in a language that you, Oliver, do not understand. And something lurches into the room. You see what appears to be a mortal shape covered in ragged hides and wielding a stone sickle. Their form betrays a strange and alien body, and they move with a strange broken gait and
just like me.
Lethargic movement.
It's your friend.
Yeah. They
Win.
immediately look at you, Olivan, and begin shouting what appear to be curses, and they charge you with their stone sickle.
Okay.
So if this is a combat, I would like to win initiative here.
Fair enough.
That's good.
And I will. This is probably stupid, but I'll pull out my pendant, and be like, "Stop! I command you."
I will say this is going to be kind of fun. They actually do halt. There is like kind of a cure, like they're still unsure. They're just sort of not moving. They're holding the sickle, and you can tell that they still want to kill you, but right now there is hesitation, and they're looking at the pendant and looking at the four of you. Well, I guess they only see two of you, with curiosity.
Okay.
Do
Is
you
that why
understand
we?
me?
They begin speaking in a dialect archaic but similar to yours, the exile. The words that you pick up are night, surface, and from.
I've come here to visit the grave of my ancestors.
They sort of turn their head curious and point to the pendant. They seem to understand the word grave and ancestor. They sort of like nod at that, and they point to the pendant and they say, follow summer in a question.
Follow summer.
Which at this point you cannot see their face, but you do see their hands and their feet.
Okay.
You see that they have claws. You see that their flesh is sallow and, well, not sallow, but like pale and sagging. The proportions are humanoid, but off in a way.
I'll just say yes. Can you take us?
At that answer, they start actually crying and sort of actually just sort of walk out of the room and leave. Crying.
We're gonna follow them.
Yeah, follow them. Follow them.
They pay no attention to you. They walk they walk out of this gate area.
Mhm.
They walk the length of the Great Hall, and they walk past the elevator, and finally to the west of the elevator, or east, they arrive to two statues. One is a strange, abstract construction made out of, if I remember correctly,
You ever memorized the entire MegaDungeon, Charlie? Wow.
there's 250 rooms. Can't do it.
That's a pretty nice number.
Yeah. There's
Good
a
number. Very
strange geometric construction or geometric sculpture made out of bronze. But the one that they go to is a bronze statue of that sun-headed figure again.
Mhm.
They drop their stone sickle. They lay on their knees, and they sort of just like slowly crawl and towards the statue's feet and just whisper at it. You hear a sort of painful sobbing coming from them.
It's dropped his weapon. Should we get it?
I'm. What was he carrying? Weapon? What was that?
Giant
weaponry?
stone sickle.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mhm.
Go for it.
Does this huge stone sickle look in any way like something Oliver could carry?
It's actually kind of small, handheld.
It's a sickle, not a scythe, right?
Oh yeah,
Like,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
so like,
sure.
So
Yeah.
like it's they just happen to be dragging it along.
Oh,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, the handle appears to be made out of like old wood that has been refitted from something, and the
Sure.
stone sickle itself has been carved in a way where it doesn't look like it can be used for its intended purpose as much as a killing implement.
Yeah, it looks like a weapon, right?
Mhm.
Like not an actual sickle to harvest with.
Mhm.
Um,
Would you
well,
like to
in
get
that
it?
case, mhm. No, actually, I don't. I don't think Oliver. I think Oliver was maybe more interested in just getting the weapon away from this creature, but it looks like we're not really in any danger from it at the moment. So I think he won't pay as much heed to it.
Yeah. Which I will say, sticking around, you do finally get a look at its face as its hood falls down during its uh, either ritual or just whatever it is doing. Clearly upset. And you get a look at it. You see thick, leathery skin coated in a thin, viscous slime. Their face resembles some primordial fish with teeth akin to some overgrown rodent. Their limbs are long and sinuous, ending in thick clawed hands that seem befitting a burrowing creature. And sure enough, upon their neck is an amulet, immaculately carved, depicting a sun blossoming from the center of a flower.
People.
Damn.
I think Oliver will ask the exile, "Is that your father?"
Maybe. My
Um,
brother, perhaps?
what? Tell me again what the two statues look like.
The statue, this one,
1 second.
looks like a tattered bronze statue of a man with the head of a beaming sun. Yeah, so similar to like all the imagery that you've seen.
You said?
So far.
Did you say there were two?
There are two statues. The one that this figure is, crying in front of is the sun-headed man. The other statue, a large marble plinth, bears a curious bronze sculpture. A strange geometric form resembles many cubic and cylindrical shapes stacked and woven together.
Okay.
Is there any? Does it evoke a sense of the kind of geometry of the cubicles also too? Like, is there a vague similar motif in the way that is presented, or is it different?
Or
I will
maybe the
say,
pipes.
if you are looking at it in that fashion, you realize that the top level of this sculpture does resemble the actual walking area that you've been so far. You notice that it appears to be 4 levels stacked on top of each other.
Oh, it's a map.
Yes. There is some writing in a language that the historian or the exile would be able to understand.
I'll go ahead and just take a look at it real quick since the exile is currently occupied.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I've got some business to attend to.
You notice the phrase, it says, Solus, the city to outlast all calamity, erected by the grace of Solaris Rex, the Sun King, and their many followers.
A Sun King.
A palace of a Sun King.
Deep into the ground.
Why would the Sun King build his palace on the ground where the sun doesn't shine?
To be prepared for a time when the sun doesn't shine at all.
Or maybe it wasn't underground.
Okay.
Or like, you know how some people just don't like to be put in comparison to things? Maybe they were just like, if the real sun can be seen, how will they notice my radiance?
Oh, that's actually not a bad idea.
That's quite an interesting one.
We can tell whenever it's true because that's when Charlie drinks as deeply as possible from that. That's Charlie's
Which I will
style
say,
in poker.
It has been 2 hours. We could explore a little for about half an hour more if we so wish, or we could end on that beat. What's everybody feeling?
I mean, I as a player, I really want to give people saying that's a good narrative beat to end.
Yeah,
I think-
I'm kind of
I
happy
think
with
it's
that too.
good. Yeah.
So
Okay,
yes,
indeed.
You want to find out what's on the other 3 levels?
You gotta buy.
You gotta go over to
ttrpg.link
ttrpg.link/AveNox and check it out. No, I'm super excited. Yeah, let's head to our reaction roll then. Reaction roll is a live stream inside of a live stream. It's our chance to sit down with the creator of a game that we just played and talk about what it was like to play that game, or in this case, that MegaDungeon adventure. We are sitting down today with Charlie Furgeson-Avery to talk about Ave Nox. I won't say all the obnoxious alternate titles that I've said so far. Go back and see them if you're just joining us or only watching this part for some reason. Charlie, for folks who are joining us, weren't here at the very beginning, why don't you tell people a little about who you are, what you do, and tell us a little bit about Ave Nox.
All right, so my name is Charles Furgeson-Avery. I am a freelance illustrator, writer, and also one half of Feral Indie Studio. We are an independent publishing company that produces zines, books, and game aids for tabletop games, as well as we are starting to branch into fiction as well. But Ave Nox itself is a MegaDungeon, all about the tagline being a MegaDungeon about forgotten history and folly. It is written to be system neutral, so it's made to be used in as many games as we were feasibly able to do. Today, we ran it in Down We Go, and not to brag, but the translation was very easy and pretty seamless. So
yeah, it was just to give you a little peek. Like Charlie and I have done we've done a lot of different streams of stuff Charlie's written, a lot of the system neutral stuff. It has gotten even easier and easier, possibly because I'm making you play Down We Go when we do it. But no, like literally, I think I changed 2 words and added a couple of items in to give things a little bit more of a flavor hook, which ended up being a super fun little add-in. But like literally could have easily done on the fly just as well as anything else. Was super fun to play and run in. But always great to have you on. Really, yeah, if you have not yet headed over to the campaign page to check it out, please do. I'm super excited about it. Have been. I have some questions for you about running a campaign at this time of year, because we just did and other people did. But let's talk about our experience playing before I pelt you with weird industry and design related questions.
Yes.
Let's whip around real quick and hear from everybody. Hessen, why don't you go first? Tell people who you are, what you do, and what it was like to play Ave Nox.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Hessen Youngdy, and I run the YouTube channel Hessen's County, where I actually do reviews of things like Ave Nox. I actually really liked it. I think it really does work well with this particular system. But another system that immediately jumped into my mind when like reading over the actual Kickstarter page was actually like basic role playing, because of the connection to Call of Cthulhu. But no, yeah, I think it does. It would work into a lot of different systems. So good job.
Thank you.
Did you have any questions you wanted to ask Charlie about the design of the play?
Not at the moment. Maybe one will come to my mind in a minute.
Cool. Feel free to just pipe up if so. Let's go down to Rowan. Rowan, tell people who you are, what you do, and what it was like to play Ave Nox.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, I'm Rowan A. I'm from Bottomless Sarcophagus Studio since recently. Kind of did a little rebranding. And I was a lead writer on the Book of Gaub, which Charlie also worked on, and Ivy as well, which I think had a very different approach to horror than this particular one. But I also very much appreciate what's going on here with Ave Nox. I have recently been playing Fear and Hunger, which is a very also sort of descent-focused kind of horror game. And that's kind of immediately what colored my perception of Ave Nox, looking at it now, kind of the wasteland above turning into this big weight, too large structure underground that people just don't really want to explore because, well, it's so big. What could you possibly imagine finding down there? And is there really anything down there that you're going to be glad to find? That's, I think, what I really like about something like Ave Nox is you kind of know going into it that whatever I'm going to find down there, I'm not going to be happy to find it.
It's definitely not a heroic situation.
It's not a heroic tale, I don't think. And I like that, therefore, you have to give your players and your player characters more of an incentive of like, okay, they are not going in there necessarily to like discover riches or whatever, although we did find some riches. It's more a thing of like what could convince someone to go into this place which they also almost certainly know will be bad, but to go in of their own will anyway, and maybe as they go in to kind of have to question themselves on why the fuck did we come here.
Yeah.
So that's something that I really liked.
Rowan, can I also just say it was super fun having you bring back a character from another stream as a horrible, shambling metal beast.
You gotta have that continuity.
I hope that you understand, Tony. Every time I come on this show, I'm going to be bringing the same guy.
That's great.
He's going to be less and less human.
That's great.
Regardless what the setting is.
Regardless of what the setting is, I'm going to bring him back.
Where'd you get that cursed dagger? That's Rowan's character, please.
Yes. And I hope that at some point you will bring me on here, not as a player, but as a designer maybe, and then I will have the players fight and kill Oliver to finally free us both of this curse.
Overpowered by all of the loot they've picked up over all the adventures of Charlie's.
Exactly. Precisely.
Yes. Love it.
I'm going to have Charlie create this homunculus by just feeding us progressively more horrible adventures for me to come onto your stream for, Tony.
Hey, this adventure that got written and Charlie did the art for, it's all gorgeous. It's horrific. It's also just a room with a guy in it who's super strong. And the only part of the adventure is kill this thing. What is that all about? I'm blessed. Did you have any questions you wanted to ask Charlie about the design?
Yes, actually, I was really wondering. So for me, you've done something like Into the Weird and Wild, Into the Assassin Citadel. And I was wondering for you personally, why is Ave Nox kind of not part of that line? Because I get the impression that it's kind of something that's distinct from the set of even just by the naming convention from Into the Assassin Citadel, Into the Weird and Wild. It's not called Into the Ave Nox, it's called Ave Nox. So it feels to me like you're kind of trying to put this aside as something that is different design-wise or that has a different philosophy behind it. Am I right at all in thinking that? And like, what's your idea? What's your core for Ave Nox that isn't necessarily shared with your previous sort of exploration horror works?
I mean, from the cynical, like, business side of things, it's like, okay, we have to expand our range. Like, we only plan on doing 3 in 2 books. So, like, what else are we doing? And but like from the like personal side of things, like this is, I've always wanted to write like an actual dungeon, and instead of just doing, a regular size module, I always bite off these huge, massive projects. But in the case of this, it also spawned from like, without going into too many details about what is happening, so to speak, in this mega dungeon. During the pandemic, there was like a lot of, shall we say, like there was a lot of panic in the upper class. There's this one particular article called, it's either by Vice or Motherboard, called "The Rich Are Leaving Us to a Broken World." And it was just kind of all about how there are certain levels and echelons of society that are preparing for the event. And they will and have already been like actively leaving the rest of us behind. And so, just angry, frustrated, and scared, I put together the idea for this dungeon of like something, shall we say, akin to what actually happens when people go through with that. Because the problem is, you can have a bunker underground trying to save yourself from like some calamity. But I don't imagine they would all get along very well.
Yeah, I think what I think is telling about usually it being like very, very rich people that would do this sort of thing is that you've obviously never co-housed
Oh my god.
You've never co-housed. You've never had to use go without space. You've never had to ration. You've never had to.
You would never have come up with this idea.
Yeah, and there is that's one of the very large running themes through this. The folly of this dungeon, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. I like that a lot. I really like it. I think it's a good feel to explore a place where clearly it's been built with a certain like a hope or an intention, and you can see kind of the layers of flesh peel off of that intention, so to speak, to reveal kind of the bones that are left behind. And it's kind of similar in one of the things that I ran recently. I kind of had a similar thing where it was also kind of gone to the rapture, kind of people burying themselves in underground to survive some oncoming event. And it was a lot of fun for my players to discover, especially because players are quite well versed in those tropes. So when they run into the big, utopic signboard saying you're fucking bullet train into the future or whatever, they know of like, oh, okay, these people are all like either dead or insane. And I feel like that's fun. It's fun for the players to kind of have that foresight. But also, I think what I liked about Ave Nox is the setting is so different. It's not, your classic sci-fi Ark of Noah thing that's been done many, many times. It kind of almost has this Pompeii feel to it, which I really like. So it really kind of breaks that continuity of the trope in a way that I enjoy, while still maintaining the idea of the why this got interesting or popularized in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
As someone who picked up Book of the New Sun recently, this is the good dying Earth stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Ivy, why don't you pick it from there? Why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and a little bit more about what it was like to play Ave Nox?
I'm Ivy. I was another one of the writers on Book of Gob, another of that. Other than that, I don't have a lot of stuff going right now. But this is pretty fun. I really like MegaDungeon stuff. Like anytime people do something MegaDungeon related, I gotta check it out. Everyone should write a MegaDungeon, I feel like. Nick Whalen has this really good blog post on like how to write a MegaDungeon in 2 weeks. Highly recommend it over at papersandpencils.com. And then what's his name? Ben L's doing a podcast on MegaDungeons as well. That's also fantastic. Been listening to that.
It inspired a whole project that I'm working on that Charlie is doing art for that's getting funded next February.
Yeah.
And
I have the one thing I have rattling around in my head, I want to do like a Mothership MegaDungeon.
We were talking about that
at some point. I want to do like a Mothership Space Hulk MegaDungeon. I think that'd be sick.
Mm-hmm.
I had one question. I'm gonna bug you about like questions about this later. But the one question I wanted to for the stream, what is your favorite room that we didn't get to see? Because that's always,
Oh, God. Well, there are a couple that are favorites, an interesting word, shall we say.
Mm-hmm.
I will say there's one room that is very tragic. And, that is with intent because, like, I kind of want to put a little bit of gravitas. I wanted to put a little bit of gravitas in this, and
you got it.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's the whole point of these things.
Yeah, the other room. Oh God, another fun room. Well, favorite room.
What was the most interesting one you think?
Some of my favorite stuff is in like the lower levels, the depths of it.
Give us one of those rooms,
Fair enough. Well, there is a room. Well, okay, it's actually a massive area. There is a genuine dungeon in the MegaDungeon, and it is built based off of some of the most, shall we say, frustrating Dark Souls levels.
Okay.
It is this like it's this like prison that's full of basilisks that like when they lick you, they turn you to stone. But then in addition to that, it's helmed by this wizard that's transmogrified them into this monster. I'm giving away a lot, but whatever.
No, that's great. It's great.
And all of the previous like experiments for how people have been able to live down here as long as they have are being held in like the maximum security part of that. And it is a devious little area. But like that entire area, that entire dungeon is like kind of full of this like weird history. There's some tragedy there, and also this character that like was part of the construction and part of the problem, but now has their own agenda 500 years later.
Hell yeah. That's very cool. I like that a lot.
Sometimes 500 years later, you're like, you know what? My priorities have changed.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in this.
Around
like,
year 300, you're like, you know what? I'm not the same person I used to be.
Exactly.
You'd hope.
Van Davis on YouTube says they just backed us a few days and they're so excited to get a hold of it. Van, if you didn't see the play we got, little taste we got, go back, check it out. I had an absolute blast. I always do. Like I'm never worried about if I'm going to have a fun time when you come on and run something. It is always super fun. It's also really fun to hear other, like, I do love this because I know it about a lot of your projects. Like you do research, which is something that I'm like, all right, I'm going to look some stuff up. I'm going to think things through. I'll do a lot of writing and a lot of thinking, but the concept of I'm going to do research is not something that really occurs to me when I am designing. It is something that occurs to me all the time when I am playing. I'm like constantly like looking up science in the middle of my Magic games to be like, hey, how does this work? Could I use an air bladder to do X, Y, Z? Is a constant thing that I will look up. But design, that's not for research. But like I know y'all just went to Boston like for a research trip. I know that for you, that is a huge part of how you incarnate this. So it's super like. It's super fun to hear about that. Like I'm like that for me, it's very much, and I don't think this is less for you, but like I'm like the cool shit's gonna come together at the table. It's all fine. Like research, me search. But I love the intentionality that you come to these with. The art, as always, is just super killer, and I do love. I loved the taste we got of it. I also just love the little narrative hints that I feel like are often and like. It doesn't come out in Weird and Wild and Cess and Citadel. There are a couple little hints of it, like in adventures you have run for us and all of the things, especially I think in As the Gods Demand, like the planning and the way that you structure things because of that research. I actually think a lot of your other design work doesn't bring that to the forefront. And so I'm very excited about Ave Nox because it is something that is not, here's how these random tables are going to fit together, or here's factions. And I did scatter these things across here, but like maybe it'll come up at your table or maybe you're not. People are actually going to receive from you like this 250 room thing that is like, here's the intentional thing that I wanted you to experience, which is very different, which I think is going to showcase that part of what you do so well, right? And most of the times I've experienced it, again, have just been from you running the adventure and looking at how you do it. And sometimes that's like, here's the beast and we're going to go down, we're going to find it. Other times it's been like, here's a magical creature eating people's memories that Tony Wilson's character will throw himself at and nobody will remember it, just be really sad whenever they think back about food.
I still remember that.
But there's a real level of intentionality that I'm very excited to see what does this. And I say that because like even just the way the final little beat ran, or actually I guess two things. One, like the showing the pendant and that creature having the pendant on, like that's a great, this is really just a fight with a weird dude. But there, like, here is a way we were able to shortcut that in the moment as players using both like player skill and narrative control. But then like me going at the very end, hey, cubes, hey, we saw cubes. Does that look like, and then it just being a big fucking map statue, like that's going to be an easy thing for people to gloss over if they aren't familiar with it, because it's just going to be another weird statue, right? But it's also like one of those moments where I think experienced OSR players and story game players are going to go, wait, that's a thing that sounds familiar. Tell me more about that. And so it was part of it's GMing, part of it's writing, right? But like the way you slipped it in, like I was just expecting it to be another conflicting motif. Like I was not ready for it's a big fucking map. That was like such a great beat. So like very excited to see how with intentionality turned to 11, like what you end up coming up with. Cause I think it's going to be just amazing. Rowan, did you want to kick something in? You did like the half mouth open. Oh, you're
Oh
muted.
no, Rowan's muted.
There we go. Was my microphone still fine?
You're good.
Okay, good. Yeah, actually, I did.
But I think you have your wrong audio source selected.
Yeah, I think it switched to the other mic.
Hold on, I can fix that pretty quickly. Yes.
There we go.
That's better.
That is much better. Okay. So what I wanted to say was I really like the way that Tony, you phrased like that kind of intentionality that comes with researching something versus kind of more the design approach of something where you just kind of think about, okay, I'm going to design it to look this and this way. I'm going to mostly think about like how it plays and going to kind of use like standard fantasy ideas and that kind of thing. But as opposed to that, the research can really, I think, make something different.
Yeah.
And the way that I want to illuminate that, I suppose, is because on my blog, when I still did OSR blogging, I think some of my best posts were stuff that was based around things from my master's degree. Because I'm a biologist by training, and there's a lot of interesting kind of concepts that I try to kind of think about and say, okay, how do I put this into a game context?
Art history, like
yeah,
that's what this all is. Like,
see, there you go. That's exactly what I mean. And I think what makes that so special is there is so much stuff in the world that if you are not in a specific field, you simply do not know about. And I think it's so fun to be able to present that to people in a way that isn't just the knowledge itself, but in a gamified way that kind of makes it a little bit larger than life and makes
you can really explore
it. Yeah, you can explore it. You can look at it. You can almost hold it, so to speak. And people will think, oh, okay, this is really creative, really original kind of fantasy thing. And then you get to say, well, actually, it's mostly based on real things.
Right.
And I think that's really fun. So absolutely, I love kind of the doing research into something and making it something that is informed by different things and just kind of the general fantasy mind space, if you will.
Yeah.
And I will then pass to somebody else, but I had one more question concretely for you, Charlie. It's kind of similar to Ivy's question, which is if you have a favorite room. My question is there a room or a thing in Ave Nox that you really, really, really considered not putting in, but ended up putting in anyway?
Actually, it was the divestment room that you guys went into. So for the record, first off, the blasting charge was like, that's 100% a-okay. But the way the game, like the way the dungeon is structured, that's actually a place that you don't really get the chance to go to until like, I'll say like late through this like campaign, if you want to call it that. And I just kind of felt like it was important, but it also steps on some kind of like complicated stuff. Like which is why in the book I make a very big important part of like a lot of your journey is about respecting the dead. It is about working with the people that are from here. It is about there is no benefit to
it's not a tomb raid.
Yes. It's based on archaeology, whereas you are coming in with the attempt to discover. And yeah, there's going to be coins. There's going to be so fun fact: the map that's made out of bronze. I do have stats in it for if you want to melt it down into scrap metal, how much money you get from it.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for the most part, like at least, especially for myself, like the money you are getting, which is like balanced per level, ends up kind of stops mattering. It ends up being much more about like what are we discovering, and also kind of like having that gravitas of finding something that's like, oh, this is a room of like personal effects that were left before they were allowed to enter, and there's one other room past that gets a little darker too. But
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and I will even say like that room, like this is, I mean, it's one of the things like this is what I mean, like the symbology outside of that room of like people like running towards the sun god immediately triggers, oh, like there's only symbols of status and position and other gods left in this room. This room is about leaving those things behind as like, and you didn't say any of that, right? Like you just said, here's a picture on a giant door. Here's this other room, and like it immediately clearly paints the picture of what this space is about. And that's such a difficult thing to do. And it's in such a way where like there are players who are going to be playing who are going to be like, I don't know what this is. We just got a shit ton of money. Great. Like we're super excited. All right, cool. Now, like, I mean, and that's, which is a totally valid mode of engaging in the game, right? Like, like it is even if people are willing to do critical reflection on their own experience of play, which I hope you are, because that's a big part of what makes play enjoyable, or helpful actually might even be a better thing to say, like, you can engage in that and just be like, yeah, why was that our gut response? Like, why did we just start looting? Like me, I'm like, I'm going to take this cool helm because I mechanically know what a helm does in my game, and I don't know what's going to happen next. And here's one right here.
I will admit, when you did that and broke the staff, like I genuinely kind of winced. Like
I saw that and I was like, oh, that's great. And I love that. I was like, I'll wait till Charlie starts describing this beautiful staff before I'm like, great, I break it across my knee, which was beat for beat wonderful. And also like, but sometimes, and here's the great tension and wonderful thing about my character is just like, how do I make it so that everybody isn't blind down here besides me, right? Like I understand this is an ancient priceless artifact. We just have to be able to see. And someone dropped their lamp. Who knows? And no one brought it back up.
Yeah, I think Hassan was, I think, about to say something, but I don't know if you were.
Hassan, hop in if you were.
Oh no, I was just curious. I mean, especially when we were going through some of the initial stages, like the rolling doors and stuff like that, a lot of this was speaking to me of like, I don't know how much you know about Cappadocia in Turkey, but there's like a whole bunch of underground cities there. I wasn't sure if you had researched. You see, so you kind of did some research into those. That was part of the. Okay, good.
Yeah, that and the big one. Admittedly, like I had a little bit of it from like my college days, but like Etruscan art, funerary art. But yes, those like the Turkish like buried, well, not buried, but like underground cities. But yeah, no, that's part of it.
Okay. Yeah,
that's
no, I was
just
history
nerds in here.
Yeah. No, and the other thing I was kind of curious about was, I mean, with that particular room, and I think it's really good, and sort of your response to what we were talking about with that room, where you were trying to find a way to kind of make this an interesting thing for characters to potentially, and players of course, to potentially do, that's not necessarily, as we mentioned, like your traditional dungeon delve or tomb robbing essentially, but really is more sort of like exploration, because I think to a certain extent you kind of have to do that on a certain level in a dungeon that's this big, unless the intention is like the delve of the week is we're going to explore these 3 rooms or those 4 rooms. If you're going to go through the whole thing, like you mentioned, whatever material gain your characters are going to get out of it is just going to be so ridiculous you can't even carry it out of the place anymore. So what's the point?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, that's I don't want to spoil too much, but that I did have the realization of like, fuck, there's entirely too much treasure in here. Like, there's no, like, and I thankfully it's very good hearing this because like there was part of me that is and still is kind of worried about like will people be turned off from the idea of like, well, at a certain point you've bought everything in the town above, like, and if the group continues to explore purely for the sense of discovery, then sense of discovery, the sense of like understanding, then success. Like, that's what it's about. Like,
yeah, and it's
absolutely.
One of those, yeah. I mean, you'll hear critique a lot, like about, oh well, why are they here, right? I think you did a really good job, and like people are gonna figure out how to hook it. This is a one shot, like, right? Like, we all show up and we're supposed to explore. Great premise for being there. Like, at the end of the day, pardon me, like, your friends are showing up at your house or online every single week to play a game, and if you're like, this is where we're playing, most of the time that's sufficient for their characters to be there. Like, I mean, but I immediately am like, I do, like, my character is just a dude who's good at crawling around caves. I want to crawl around these caves. Like, the fact that and I think even some of that from the backgrounds, like, because let's talk about that little piece of like genius for a second. Like, the backgrounds are in, like, and that's, like, it's been a fun thing for you and I as we've done streams to like figure out some like, hey, these were like so easy to plug in. They're not standard down we go backgrounds, but they do what down we go backgrounds are supposed to do, which is they give you a little bit extra capability, but more so they give you a sense of what is this character about and what were they about before.
placement.
Yeah, and every single one of these backgrounds does that so perfectly because they say, yeah, my guy's just a dude who's like, and literally just like, I want to go deeper. How deep can I get in the ground? And that's going to be enough for me to keep on going. Like, a charming historian is going to keep on poking around because of that. A smuggler is going to look for stuff, right? And the best stuff.
I want bones.
Yeah, to be there. And like, people who just want bones like, those are all reasons to be there that give the characters a motivation to keep on going that are not just treasure, which then makes it really easy as a player to not. And then as a player, I'm just like, yeah, I just want to know more about all these little freaks in here and all the weird stuff in the like, you apologized at one point for rereading the mosaic scene, and I was like, why? Because it's great to like, it was great to hear the first time, it was great to hear the second time.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
And so like, you've got player motivation and character motivation bought in, not from what's necessarily down in the depths or what are they encountering, but from the conceit of why we are here. And we didn't even get into the weird ghost shit, which I'm so excited to know more about in the future.
Yeah, which actually, I do want to catch this, like, it'll be real quick. I do want to catch this on video just for saving my own ass. But the addition of the loathsome grave robber. So mechanically, like, there is the stuff with the ghosts where, like, yeah, defiling, like, defiling remains.
Wait, pause. Hey, everybody, there are ghosts. We didn't touch on them at all.
No. Yeah. Actually, had you gone east, you would have bumped into it, but never mind. It's
nice. Okay. Thank you.
There is no mechanical benefit to grave robbing. So, like, if you rob graves, the ghosts are going to get angry at you. There is a place that you can sell them, but it's supposed to exist as a temptation of sin, because if you do so, you get hit with one of the harshest effects that you can get in the entire MegaDungeon, which is that, like, the ghosts will always be angry at you until you find this one spot that you can maybe repent for that. But the grave robber exists with kind of like a redemption arc, like at their disposal, because it's not that they get a benefit from robbing graves, it's that they are capable of moving remains better than anyone else. And one of the running things to help the ghosts be happy, to work with the locals, is about getting those remains, bringing them to the surface, and providing them a proper burial. And there is no one mechanically in the game better at doing that than the loathsome grave robber. and that is with intent.
That's such a great
Okay.
tension to set up.
That's
get-go.
really interesting.
And
I like that.
it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, I want to catch that on record. Just I didn't throw a grave robber in just because I thought it would be funny. Like there's intent. Like
yeah, it's such a great. Those types of things are those are the fun both play state and philosophical intentions to explore. And I love like I mean people are like, oh, like I mean right now the OSR is having a hard time, but in fairness,
I mean,
the OSR has been having a hard time.
Tony,
Tony,
isn't it always? Isn't it always?
Well, I mean, when it was old school, it was just Satanic Panic, and that was easy mode basically.
Well, I suppose,
and so,
I suppose.
but yeah. So anyway, we'll talk about that later. But like the concept of grave robbing is one of those tensions, right? Like that's one of the things that people constantly come back to. Is this macabre? How should we be handling this? What is this? Like, and essentially, like that is the state of what you are doing. Anytime you are doing a dungeon delve to a certain degree, right? Not necessarily explicit, but you're probably robbing some graves. And it's easy to leave it off to the side and be like, we all know this is a bad thing and just let it go. To create a character class that that lets that become the tension, not just in the, we'll explore why this is bad, but also explore the benefit of being good at this, like, is a real kind of behind the scenes
benefit of grave robbing,
masterstroke, right? Like, you're good at grave robbing, so you can easily anger the spirits, but also you can help them in a way that no one else can. Also, potentially, is a really great turn on that reflection. So. I'm excited. Real quick, I mentioned it before. What has it been like for you and your experience? And maybe it's not different at all. Maybe it's been the exact same. Running a game in December as a crowdfunder specifically. We just did one, but it was very niche, right? Like this is a very why do it in December? Besides potentially maybe this is a great time for you to have gotten money also to pay yourself. That's which is a totally valid thing to need to eat. But also like why December and why not January? Why not November? You know, what made you decide this time of year to do the game, which is notoriously like it gets quiet on Kickstarter.
Yeah. For the most part, it was like we have another book next year that we're probably going to start in March. So I wanted to make sure that I could schedule this between so the crowdfunding happens December. You know, as long as we get like the money for the print, and you know, I've been working on it for a year, maybe a little bit of scratch just to you know, but and that's also that during January we can finish production. February we get it ordered and shipped, and then during March we ship it out, and also can then hopscotch over to the book, the next book. So it's just a scheduling thing, honestly.
Yeah. That's fine. I get it. It's totally great. I love it. I'm super excited. I can't wait to have it in my hot little hands, to meet you in a weird parking lot off a turnpike somewhere in Pennsylvania to swap it for lip balm, as we do sometimes. But no, people can head over to ttrpg.link/AveNox. Check out the game if you haven't backed it yet. I know Van Davis over on YouTube already has. I know a lot of people here already have. If you haven't yet, please go support it. If you can't back the game for some reason, because it is that time of year, the best thing you can do to help get it out into the world is just share it with people on social media. It is not as good as backing it all the time, but it's pretty damn close. And as a creator, I appreciate both of those things equally. And so please help get the word out about it. And I'm sure there will be copies available afterwards. But in order to make sure that we get the best version of the book out to as many people as possible, go support it now over at ttrpg.link/AveNox if you can. If you want to support our stream, like I said, the best way to do that is to head over to rpgzine.club. Sign up for RPG Zine Club. If you like story and narrative games, that's great. We got those. If you like old school and adventure games, like the adventure we just played, we've got a membership for that. Or if you just like games and zines generally, you sign up for the All the Zines subscription. Check it out. It's a great way to help emerging creators get their first games out into the world, discover amazing new titles, and help make us a more sustainable channel also too. So please go check it out at least. Ignore the fact that some of the page is mildly outdated because life, and I need to go just move some images and stuff around. But we've got Prima Donna by Kyle Tam from the Philippines. It's coming out. Kyle's one of my favorite creators. And then we've got Michael Van Vliet's Die Grave Robber Die. Michael's also like, look, I just love the people we get to work with here on the stream in a lot of ways. Like, it's a chance to just interact with people who I love. Michael Van Vliet's Die Grave Robber Die is a standalone trophy dark incursion where bodies have been disappearing. So if you want to explore grave robbing more and being taken to a Frankenstein-like mansion, we're going to be playing that next Friday here on stream with Michael running it. So come on back. If you've never explored Trophy, it's a great place to dive in without buying 3 huge bound books, but Michael's part of the writing team for the original Trophy also too, and the recent Wassailing of Claw's Banner that we just released. So keep an eye out for that and a bunch of other amazing streams that we've got coming up over the next few weeks, including our own Mega Dungeon, Tomb of 1,000 Doors for Mouse Ritter. We can talk about that, Ivy, after we are off stream, but I'm happy to stick around and chit chat a little bit more about it. Find all those links wherever. Go sign up for our email list. We've never figured out a good way to end streams, and at this point, we're not interested in figuring one out. So we're all just going to wave at the camera until I take us off.
I've got a way to end the stream. I have this blasting charge.
Bye,
Don't
y'all.
forget to rate your itch purchases.
Bye.